How Diablo 4 is reinventing character classes.
Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to discuss the classes of Diablo 4 and how the new class-specific designs are breaking new ground while drawing on the design from past games. After playing around with some of these new class mechanics, I can say confidently that Diablo 4 is gearing up to be one of the greatest games of our lifetimes. Now Diablo has...
That's a lot to say. Okay, alright. Let me see... There's no hashtag ad here. So yeah, I mean, this is... All right. Let's go.
Always had a history of being innovative. Diablo 1 was one of the first video games to establish the common video game character.
Diablo 3 did innovate on the game by making you have to be online to play it. That's true.
Archetypes of warrior, sorcerer, and rogue, each class's abilities offsetting the other's weaknesses. Many games and even films still use this archetypal trio today. Of course, Diablo did draw inspiration from the legendary 1974 fantasy tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons, which first introduced class-based systems. Fast forward to Diablo 4, and one feature I'm most looking forward to is how each class has multiple unique class mechanics. For example, the Druid will be the only class that can loot spirit charms, which are items that can be presented as offerings that you can give to one of the 4 great animal spirits. We know that 3 of them are the snake, eagle, and wolf, and depending on which spirit you choose, it will empower you in a different way. Each spirit...
Oh, okay, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. Great.
It has a number of different boons to choose from, but you can only select one, and not all spirits will be available initially and need to be unlocked one by one. But once all are unlocked...
I don't really think that's that big of a deal. I mean, having some class fantasy type stuff is good, but, you know, all right, great, cool.
You can choose freely from among the 4 spirits, selecting one boon.
So, you could think of the spirits as like a pantheon. And then, like, after you would do something to maybe gain the spirit's favor or maybe capture it inside of an object on the map that it's in, then you could activate one of the spirits in this, you know, again, we're using this word pantheon here. Just a random word I thought of. And you can change them based off of what you're trying to do. I think that's a really interesting idea. I like that. Okay, good. Yeah, I can see them really reinventing things. Absolutely.
From each spirit, and one extra boon from a spirit of your choice once they're all unlocked. Now, depending on your playstyle, the best animal spirit to align with will change.
Makes sense.
These animal spirits are located in Skazglen, which is the druid-like zone.
Like maybe you could have one that makes it to where like you're unaffected by burning ground. Maybe you could have another one that makes it to where like you can't be stunned if you've been stunned before. Another one that might make it to where walking, if you have like maybe a bleed on you, doesn't do as much damage. Maybe one, if you haven't taken damage for a while, you'll regain flask charges. Like, it's not really that big of a deal, so maybe have that like be like one of the minor spirits. I don't know if they have that. Maybe they should add that too. But like, yeah, this seems really good. I like this.
And outside of the scope of the Diablo 4 beta,
like you do more damage the more mobs are around you.
Fractured Peaks. So you won't be able to experience this during the beta, and we'll have to wait until the game launch for it. And if you're enjoying this video so far, make Lilith happy and like and subscribe. Now this mechanic reminds me of how World of Warcraft really nailed it on class identity, giving class-specific quests such as earning and crafting your totems as a shaman.
I'll definitely agree with this. Like classic WoW, like I would say class identity in the... No, 100%. Like, class identity was great in Vanilla WoW, BC, and Wrath. I think class identity started to wane in Cataclysm.
Tame a beast as a hunter, or brawling in a makeshift arena for berserker stance.
Yeah, this was awesome.
We also saw something similar with Final Fantasy XIV, with each class having its own job-specific quests. And it seems to me that in many ways, elements from MMORPGs are coming to Diablo 4, which is something that has never been done before, and I believe has the potential to redefine the ARP genre for decades to come. But that's not the end of the druid-only mechanics. Druids also have a chance to deal crushing blows to enemies when using earth skills, which reduce the enemy's life by a flat percentage of their total health. Of course, this can be extremely powerful, and it appears that this effect will be reduced against bosses and other players.
So it's like the gem in Diablo 3.
And another mechanic that isn't just for druids, but also barbarians is fortify. This causes them to take 30% decreased damage until the amount of fortified life is removed or it wears.
Fortify. Okay, and so it would reduce the amount of damage that you would take whenever you had fortify on. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that we have a game that's used fortify in that way before. This is the first time.
Off. Now, fortify is an interesting new mechanic that makes barbarians and druids some of the tankiest classes in the game because no other class has access to it, which really adds to the class fantasy of being a melee bruiser. I actually don't like...
Well, isn't this the way that Diablo 3 worked too? Where in Diablo 3, like wizards just passively took more damage than barbarians because wizards supposed to be at range and barbarians weren't. So, like, yeah, this is... yeah, I mean, that's how it was all the time.
It has a maximum amount of damage it can reduce, though. For example, a skilled player would use Fortify anticipating taking a lot of damage.
Right.
But if Fortify will only reduce a set amount of damage, then you really aren't able to stretch the value of the ability by using it at the perfect time. However, this might mean players are more likely to just spam the ability to always keep it on cooldown and getting the most out of it instead, which may be more engaging than just saving a cooldown like you might do in another game.
What I'm going to do is, like with the 4 buttons, what I do is I'll do like this. And everything will probably be fine.
We already started talking about Barbarian already with Fortify. We know that the
Play that bitch
Barbarian
like a
only
piano.
class mechanic is the Arsenal system, which allows him to hold up to 2 extra weapons automatically using the best weapon for the ability of your choice. Now, along with the Arsenal system, there is Expertise, which grants bonuses based on your expertise with each weapon type. There's also what's called a technique choice within the Arsenal system, but it was not usable in the latest build of the game. Now, looking at these 2 class-specific mechanics, we can see a theme: player choice. In both cases, the class mechanic allowed for extra customizability. The druid spirit animal, and within it a number of boons to choose from, and with the barbarian arsenal, the choice of extra weapons.
I think that the truth is that a lot of what they're doing, okay, let me just, like, obviously we've been talking around this a lot. A lot of these things are not innovative at all. They're just copied from PoE. Like, that's it. They're just like, you're just taking the fucking the Pantheon system from PoE and giving it to druids. You're taking weapon swapping from PoE and giving it to barbarians. Okay, great. I don't think that makes Diablo 4 bad, and in fact, I think it can make it good if it makes those interesting decisions that PoE makes you do. It makes them more accessible. So, for example, a necromancer, instead of building an entire build around carrying golems, it's just a button that you press. And there's a huge audience of people that doesn't want to do a massive fucking build just to do carrying golems. They just want to press 1 or 2 buttons and then change a couple of pieces of gear, and now they're trying a different build. So I do actually think that Diablo 4 is not really doing anything super new here, but they're making what's already in the space way more accessible.
Improving expertise for those weapons, and then selecting your technique. This appears to be a deliberate design by the Diablo 4 team that I like, because if I'm playing with a friend and we're both druids, we can play very differently based on the spirit animals we selected, the boons within them, and of course a ton of other customization that ultimately leads us to play differently, look for different items, and so on. And what I like about this is that...
Does Diablo 4 have Magic Find on gear? Like Magic Find on gear that you have to choose? Do we know that? I hope not. Yeah, I've always thought, guys, I know this might be an unpopular opinion, Magic Find is a shit mechanic. It's a shit mechanic in New World, it was a shit mechanic in Diablo 3, and it is a shit mechanic in PoE.
Ferguson, general manager of Diablo, has stated in an interview that early on, you can easily change your skills and customization choices, but there becomes a point, which he chose level 50 arbitrarily, where it's no longer easy to change your choices, and you're better off just making a new character. Now, this reminds me a lot of the Diablo 2 skill tree. It's not easy to reset, and you can only do it 3 times for each time you cleared the Den of Evil. Of course, later on you can get more chances to reset, but it's not easy to reset your skill tree. And I actually like this a lot. If you can reset...
I don't. I just want to be able to reset my skill tree whenever I want to. I don't want to have an arbitrary restriction in a game that's already built for seasons. I don't want to waste my time. If I want to try something new, I just want to try it. Like, if I get a new item, like, it's like, oh, wow, this is really good. I just want to try this, do this item. I don't want to be punished for that. That's stupid. Like, I have other things that I want to do. I want to play the game.
Set your specializations and choices, then it makes them much less meaningful, and you put a lot less thought into them. But if it's different...
That's not true at all. I think that you put a lot of thought into what you're going to use at all times. And, of course, you're going to think about it less if you don't have to worry about it. But there are a lot of things that you don't want to have to think about. Like, if there's a wasp in your room, you're going to put more thought into where you're standing in that room. But wouldn't it just be better if the wasp wasn't in the room? Like, putting more thought into things and making it more meaningful does not make it better. Blizzard tried this with Covenants in Shadowlands, and it was bad. They tried it with Legendaries in Shadowlands. It was bad. Stop doing it.
Difficult to reset skill points and other class-specific mechanics, players will be much more careful and thoughtful with their character builds.
No, they won't. They will. The only time they will be more careful, and also, like, being more careful, what does that mean? What being more careful means, it means going on Twitch and asking whoever is streaming, asking Quinn, what's the best build? What's the best build to do the most damage and not die? And you get the best loot and it's easy. So, like, all this is going to do whenever you create these, like, massive, like, artificial fucking friction mechanics, all these things do is they just make people metagame even harder.
Guarantees players are going to re-roll their character once they realize they messed it up. I remember doing that in Diablo 2 as a kid, and honestly, it just made me respect the game so much more as being challenging. Now, if you look at the book...
For me, it didn't. Like, I had the same thing happen in PoE, and I quit the game. Because, like, I realized I had built my character in a way that was, it was bad, and I would take a really long time to, like, redo it, and I just quit. Because it's like, I don't want to do this again. It's too much work.
Book of the Dead, for example, the Necromancer's class mechanic, it allows for a number of different play styles. If you want to command legions of skeletons, you can, or if you like the
this is
dark
really
spellcaster
cool
theme without the summons, you can also customize your build like that. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Death Knight in Wrath of the Lich King. You can get a permanent ghoul if you go unholy, and you don't if you choose the other specializations. Now, the Book of the Dead lets you choose to have only a golem, or the biggest possible summon army possible, or the opposite, no summons at all. When I played, there was even a lot of customizability a layer deeper. For example, you could choose skeletons that are attackers and they have less health and armor but deal more damage, or you could choose the tank skeletons, which actually have shields and so
like
more
meat
damage.
Shields.
So there's even more customization after
Another
you make
innovative
choice
idea
of summons or no summons. Now, I would say the first part of this isn't anything new. Necromancers could already choose to not be a summoner, but customizing your summons is a cool new feature that I'm actually glad they added. Now,
again, like, what they're doing is they're just taking PoE systems and they're making them more accessible to a broad audience. Which is really, I mean, like, I'm memeing on Blizzard for this, but that's what they did with WoW. They took a lot of EverQuest systems and they made them accessible for a wider audience, and World of Warcraft was the biggest game. So yeah, good job. Blizzard's back to their roots.
Gets the enchantment system. This allows access to 3 extra skill slots called the enchantment slots. A spell placed into an enchantment slot becomes a passive skill. For example, Meteor will just periodically be cast on a random enemy nearby. Or if you place Ball Lightning into an enchantment slot, it causes all crackling energy to instead become Ball Lightning, which sounds really powerful. This is an interesting take on a class-specific system because it allows you to effectively use 3 more abilities than other players, even if it's just a passive effect. Rogues are unique in that they can alternate between ranged weapons and melee weapons, freely using either type of skill, and their character will automatically start using the appropriate weapon. This already sounds like a fun mechanic to play with, and I can't wait to try it out. But that's not all. Rogues also need to choose to align themselves with one of 3 rogue guilds: Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye, the Mercenaries of Kyrgyzstan, or the Outlaw Smugglers of Hawazar. The aligning process involves a quest chain unique to each of the 3 factions, and each rogue guild provides its own unique benefits to the rogue. Now,
So you could say they're like covenants? Okay, got it.
this is just amazing. It's a fun rogue fantasy, and since there are 3 different rogue guilds, I imagine you'll unlock all of them and then ultimately decide which one to stay with. Rogues are also...
I think that they should do, I think this is cool, but it ceases being cool if you can't just swap between them whenever you want. Because if you can't, everybody's just going to pick the same one. And there'll be like probably 3 or 4 different rogue builds, and each rogue build will use one of these, and it will just be the best one. I think that like really a good example of this is like you look at WoW right now, and that there is basically no restriction on trading or changing anything. You can respec and use pretty much the same exact gear, minus like secondary stats, and it's not really a massive deal, and trinkets and weapons. You can respec your talent tree whenever you want. There's no restrictions on it. And guess what? I think the game's fine.
the only class which can modify the damage type of their weapons to either cold, poison, or shadow. For example, rogues can lace their weapons with cursed oil, which causes them to deal shadow damage, or frost oils, which apply chill, leading up to a full freeze over time. This is a very strong additional class mechanic just for rogues. All right, moving on from each class's specific mechanic and system,
PoE
each
mechanic.
class also has access
like that's the way that chill works in PoE, is that you get a high enough amount of chill and then it freezes.
Different types of damage specific to their class. Now, for example, barbarians only deal physical damage, while a class like druid has access to physical, lightning, and poison. Now, this is very meaningful back in Diablo 2 because monsters could have immunes and take extremely reduced damage to a type of damage. I'm hoping to see this return in Diablo 4, encouraging players to go a build with a diverse range of damage types, and it also means that certain classes can...
I don't think having immunes is good gameplay. Personally, I don't think so. So, like, for example, we can look at a few types of things that have immunes already. You can look at Arch Nemesis, for example, with PoE. Whenever Arch Nemesis came out and people had the wrong damage type, they would just skip the mobs, and people universally hated Arch Nemesis. I actually defended Arch Nemesis. I thought it was good, but the balancing was bad. But I do think that Arch Nemesis NPCs were better than the baseline rares before then. However, again, the balancing was really fucking bad. And the immunes, the, fucking like storm-touched, elemental resistances, elemental fortification, resistance to magic, resistance to hits, resistance to spells, resistance to frost, and you're doing frost damage? Oh, and they have endurance orbs on hit? Fuck that. Yeah, but that's not fun. Absolutely not. Same in Elden Ring. Elden Ring is not the same as this. I think that for, there's no... I don't think there's anything in PoE where, like, bosses are immune to a certain type of damage. I don't think so. So... Yeah, plus life regen. Yeah, I don't think so. Also, like Lost Ark, they don't have that. Let's see. And I think also, like, in Vanilla WoW, for example, was Molten Core good because every mage went Frost? No. No, it wasn't. It just sucked. So it's like, these ideas sound good, but whenever you look at the implementation of the ideas, and every single contemporary implementation of this idea has been received badly, maybe it's a bad idea. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's bad. I'm just saying.
Farm certain areas better than others, depending on what monsters are immune to there. I think this really adds a lot of depth to the game, and I really can't wait to see if they end up implementing it. From what we know, and I'm sure there's a lot we still don't know, Diablo 4's classes are looking fun, unique, and compelling enough that you'd want to play all of them at least once. There's a lot of systems and mechanics that have never been done before coming to Diablo 4, and some that are definitely coming from MMORPGs, but personally, I can't wait to give it a try. Let me know in the comments what class you are going to play, and if you liked this video, you might like this video shown on the screen. I'll see you there.
Okay, let me go back and I'm gonna
Hey everyone, in today's video, we're going to
Give me
discuss
1
the...
second. Sorry about that. It auto plays. I can't turn it off. Not with the playlist on this. I don't think that a lot of these things are good, and I do think that some of them are. Like, for example, we can all have fun and meme about how really a lot of the systems that Diablo 4 is using are just simplified versions of the PoE systems. However, I think that's what Blizzard has always excelled in. They have excelled at taking a working idea that's extremely fun and good to play, and then making it more accessible to a wider audience, and then putting it out there. That's exactly why World of Warcraft was so successful for so many years. It's because they perfected, simplified, and took all the bad stuff out of MMOs, and they kept the good stuff, at least for the time. I do not think that having to remake a character because you decided to build your own spec instead of just following the YouTube guide that tells you exactly how to play, because that is exactly what it will cause people to do. I do not like the idea that people have that these things exist in a vacuum. Like, they think people are just going to play the game and that's it. No. They're going to play the game, they're going to look things up about the game, they're going to figure them out, and if they don't, the thing is also, the people that aren't looking anything up about the game, so imagine you are a casual 9 to 5 Andy, 1.5 hours a day to play, okay? And you level your character to 65, and you find out that in order to change your build that's not working, because that's clearly what's going to happen, is you're going to make a bad build, you're going to hit a wall, and then you're going to look it up, or you're going to quit, one or the other. But let's say you do look it up, and you see that in order to respec your character from 65 in the right way, it would actually be faster to just level a new character. You quit. Because you just don't have time for that. So who is this for? Because it's actively harmful to casual players. It is restrictive in a way that is not enjoyable to hardcore players. Who are you helping? Who is this for? Where's the upside? I don't see it. I don't think casuals care about meta builds. They will when they hit a wall. I guarantee you. Because a lot of times you're going to hit the wall. And also, if they don't care about meta builds, then why would they care about respecking anyway? You see what I'm saying? They certainly do care. Yeah, no walls on normal difficulty, though. There are going to be no walls on normal difficulty. Okay, then why make walls on... then why have it? If it doesn't matter what you pick, and you're going to win no matter what talent points you pick, why make it to where you have to invest in it? Why not just let people play what they want? So if it doesn't matter anyway, then why restrict it? It doesn't make any sense. It is pointless restriction that just makes the game worse. I feel like if I feel like I'm wasting my time building a character, I ain't doing it again. Yeah, exactly. So well, let's go back over, is Bleak Fate 4 spoken out or not? No, I'm going to play it after this. I'm just finishing up the conversation about this. I think also some of the innovations that they're doing in the game is just basically, again, taking PoE and just making it easier to deal with. Like this right here, for example. Skeleton Warriors. Okay, so you want to have Skeleton Warriors, all right. So do you want to have Vol Skeleton Warriors? Okay, yes, do you want that or not? Okay, all right. Defenders, okay, do you have Meat Shield gem or not? No, okay, you don't. All right, so Skirmishers, you want to have, you know, let's say like Brutality. You want to have like added melee damage. And then, oh, well, do you want to have them do special types of damage? And then, okay, well, then let's have that. And you're going to have like damage conversion. So like Frost Chill weapons or Frost Chill, you know, fucking whatever they're called. Yeah, the aggressive gem. What's that called? Fucking, there's like Primordial Might, but then there's another one. It's not all out attack. It's something like that. The point is that Feeding Frenzy, yes, Feeding Frenzy, there it is. So just making all of those options and everything that goes into choosing that just a click of a button, I actually think has a massive audience, because I think the gameplay that PoE provides like that is very interesting and fun. So I'm really glad to see Blizzard trying this. The only thing that I'm not a fan of is whenever you make restrictions on the game for no reason. There were immune in D2. There were damage types that allowed for areas to clear by Amazon barbarians and encouraged grouping with other players to complete a common goal. Though I don't know. I mean, like, Diablo 2 is not a very popular game nowadays. So, like, a game that came out 20 years ago that I would say over half of the people that play it because of nostalgia. This is not a very good evidence. This is not very good evidence of a game being popular. Yeah, if they were serious, whenever they said it'd be cost effective to re-level, it would make me worry. Yeah, I think so too. Wasn't there a remake? Yeah, there was. There was a remake. But it's still basically the same game. And I'm not saying that nobody plays Diablo 2, but let's not go and pretend like Diablo 2 is some massive fucking game. It's not.
A trip, one needed trip.